Hello, Daniel Bloodworth here with Michael Huber and Isla Hink
Hi.
to talk through all the craziness, well, most of the craziness I saw at GDC. We got some other videos that are going up, some breakout standalone videos that are going up about the same time as this, as well as some things that I can't talk about until later.
Ooh, secrets.
But this is just kind of the overall GDC experience. Also, thanks to Tinsley PR, who helped assist with travel.
Heck yeah,
to get me up there. And yeah, we have a Rah Boom and El Paso elsewhere in separate videos. So go check those out.
Looking cool.
Because that was some cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, they look great.
But yeah, Huber, just off the top, just like my GDC philosophy, because this is such a different show, right? It's not just about like, you know, a big expo and like walking up and playing whatever you can.
Yeah.
You know, and so like a lot of like, I think almost everything I saw, well, not everything, but like a lot of what I did was like in separate like hotel rooms.
Got it.
So it's like a lot of hiking back and forth across San Francisco.
Intimate.
To go from one thing to the next.
Bloodworth. Wow.
I like it.
Room to room.
And then obviously, you know, there's like 20, 30 panels going on every hour. So like picking and choosing like what talks I want to go see, as well as just chatting with people, you know, and finding people and just like, I think like pretty much any time that I was walking from one place to another, there would be somebody that would stop me and like either say hi or just be like, hey, I'm a big fan of Easy Allies, you know, love your work, et cetera, you know. And so just, yeah.
Did you stop anyone, Blood?
Yeah, I stopped the guy from Bandai Namco after the awards.
Nice.
To
congratulate.
Yeah, to congratulate.
Nice.
Yeah, and he got me up with some other stuff that's going on too, so that was nice. But it also kind of like shows just like how cool this show can be, because there was a guy earlier that was like looking over his shoulder watching him play Pacific Drive. And then when he got up...
That sounds ominous.
Well, sometimes you can take notes better that way when you see somebody else playing and you're like, you know, rather than trying to remember what you did. And anyways, and I talked to him a little bit afterwards, and it was like his first GDC, and he was coming from the East Coast, and he was all psyched and stuff. And then after the awards, I was talking to my friend who I shared a hotel with. And then that guy came over and started talking to us. And then the guy from Bandai Namco was walking by and was like, hey. You know, and then the guy who's first GDC afterwards was like, whoa, I just met the head of Bandai Namco PR.
That's awesome.
That's GDC, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's another guy who I was having a lunch with Ben Hansen. And
from Min-Max?
From Min-Max.
Whoa.
And I'm like in his travelogue taking a bite out of a pizza. So watch that when it goes up.
I hope he like zooms in uncomfortably close on the footage.
But then one of my old friends from Nintendo World Report, all he basically does journalism-wise anymore is just cover GDC for them, because it's all a volunteer website.
Got it.
So he came over and had lunch with us, and then this student from CSU had no clue who any of us were, but he came over and just like introduced himself and started talking, you know.
Nice.
That's
you looked
jolly,
important.
dude.
And apparently he had done the same thing the day before and like met one of the heads of Gearbox. You know?
Was your Nintendo World Report friend the one that calls you Dan?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, Johnny wasn't there. Johnny's an
Johnny.
aerospace
Johnny
engineer.
and Dan.
You don't have the dignity to call the man who calls you Dan, John.
But no, he actually, Aaron, his day job is like Lumosity, doing brain game stuff.
Oh.
Sweet.
But yeah, so lots of cool stuff like that, just throughout the show. We'll get into some of the other stuff as we go through the events. I talked about my crazy travel on the podcast, so go check out that last podcast episode to get that story.
We had him radio in. It went pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
Zoom gets a little funky with sync sometimes, so in the future we'll do a different way of that, but whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, apparently, because I came in on Wednesday, but apparently Tuesday was just crazy. There's like a bomb cyclone that hit San Francisco and like rerouted a bunch of flights and
Holy
stuff
crap.
like that, and like was knocking down trees and just, yeah. It was
Coolest place on earth.
And like I was saying, people are like
Coolest
walking
place on
back
earth.
and forth, even to go between like West Hall and South or North Hall. There's a bit of a walk
It
outside.
disappeared. Blown into the heavens. Never seen again.
So I was hearing about that constantly on Wednesday. But but because of my delays, I missed the Kirby panel, unfortunately, which I heard was cool. Also had a crazy line outside before they started because they were trying to get some tech stuff figured out.
I saw someone in chat was saying that the Kirby line went out the door, down the hall, around the corner, out onto a balcony, back inside, and then around another corner.
Holy crap.
It was just
it was just because they were trying to work out lighting or something.
Or
because apparently once everyone got in, there was still space left.
Oh.
So...
Well then, all right. Yeah. Reports of the line were overstated.
It's like when shoe stores.
I know people that left the line because it just looked too intense. They didn't think they would get in.
Yeah.
Shoe stores make the lines
look longer.
Drum a pipe.
Yeah, yeah. It's like trying to get a shirt at Supreme. It's like just spill some red ink on a shirt and you got it.
I've never heard of that, but I'm gonna look it up after.
You've seen it. It just says Supreme. Never mind.
So yeah, that first day I saw El Paso Elsewhere and Rah Rah Boom, which we did the other videos on.
Those look sweet.
They look sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I met was a contact at Techland for a little bit, and we chatted about stuff. But then the next thing I played, finally, been wanting to play this for a while, was Pacific Drive.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So this is, if you're not familiar, you're taking this station wagon full of all this sci-fi gear into this Pacific exclusion zone.
It's Area X.
Yeah. So
Annihilation.
All kinds of weird stuff is going on in there.
Straight up.
Yeah.
So it's this kind of sort of roguelike, sort of survival game, and you're going in there to get these, they call them anchors. They're these round things that I guess they kind of help you upgrade and get further into the zone and solve the mysteries and all that. But with the demo, it's definitely a hard game to demo in 20 minutes. I had to run it twice to just
this is a game
totally get what's going on. Yeah,
this is the game where the first time I play it, it's gonna be for 6 straight hours. This is the game I'm ready to settle into Bloodworth.
But when they start you off, your car is sitting there with missing a wheel, and missing some other stuff, and so they kind of get you into the the repair mode. So it's okay, pick up a wheel. Put it on.
Yeah.
Get your blowtorch out. Start fixing the panels.
Do you have the answers? Did you get enough time to talk about the upkeep of the car? Because when I think of survival horror and stuff, it's all right, I'm managing my inventory. I love that. Managing my ammo. And in this, it's dude, I got to keep this car up and running. Like Days Gone, the motorcycle, Mad Max, the car. I love the idea of having to manage the vehicle itself, and
it's half the game.
Yeah, and keeping it fueled. How did you get a sense of how all that works?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You when you're out driving, you'll definitely take damage, and you can see a little readout that shows which parts are damaged or whatever.
And you can spec your car to protect against different
stuff.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that you don't see at the single run. Because you go out there and collect some scrap and some resources.
Got it.
And then you can use stuff in the garage to build
awesome.
Specific types of defenses for specific types of threats and all of that.
You can turn stuff to your benefit too, right? Make things that use electric energy charge the car.
Awesome.
If I recall.
Very cool.
Yeah. They did have some cans of spray paint there, so you could do a little quick change the color of the car.
Is it just you just toggle it, or you can actually fine tune spray?
No, it's just spraying one panel of the car. You change the color of the car. And then you've got to grab the pump, the gas pump, and pump up the car, fill it full of gas.
Dude, you have unlimited gas just in each garage. Probably you just grab it and.
No, I think there's probably some kind of mechanic to that. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
These are all the mechanics. I'm ready to dive
I remember you having to find gas, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe that's just to refill your car while you're out on the road.
While you're out there,
I don't know exactly.
Hype to find legendary tires.
Right? No, that's a real thing because certain tires are good for the road and other tires are better for off road.
Right.
So, but when you get into the car. And you have to drive first person. It's all about that experience. You look over here to the right, and you've got the map that shows you kind of where things might be and all of that.
Blood, do you have the answers? Have they said anything about VR?
I don't think that they have.
It just seems like a natty fit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be clear, I actually didn't get to talk to them on this one. This is like one that was just like kind of on the show floor. So like there were some devs kind of like looking over your shoulder to see.
Yeah.
But like unless you like called them over.
I guess I should state that my friend Carrie like wrote this game.
Yeah.
So like I'm friends with some of the devs.
But yeah, so when you get in, like I like started like pushing on the gas right away and like nothing happens. Like, oh, I've actually got to start the car.
Yes.
So you like turn the key and then you put it in gear.
That's awesome.
And then you can actually get out on the road. And then this is the other funny thing about that, Huber, is I was out there like picking up one of the anomalies and like and the thing that you put the anchors. The thing you put the anchor into is in the passenger seat. And I go to open the door, but then like I kept missing it, and I'm like, what? It's like, oh, my car is rolling downhill because I didn't put it in park.
Oh no! Yes, dude.
Gotta be careful with that.
Yes. Can you drive manual?
No, it's all. Well, I don't know if you can,
Got it.
but by default it wasn't in manual.
Got
so,
it.
Cool.
Do you use the mirrors at all? The side mirrors, rear view mirrors, are those functional whatsoever?
They're functional, but I didn't see a need to use it too much.
Reckless driver, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, you've got all this stuff. Like you've got these weird like pillars coming out of the ground and like a rhythm at times. Like you were saying, like things of electricity crossing your path that I don't necessarily know what to do with. You would have these mannequins that would just pop up out of nowhere. Like
one of those is popping up in the car. Count it.
Ooh, that'll be
Count it right now. Happening 100%.
Yeah, you would have like you would park your car and then go off to explore or whatever, and then come back and there'd just be like a bunch of mannequins in front of your car. And like, oh hi.
How Bloodworth? Do you have the answers? How survival is it, and how horror is it? Is it horror at all?
I don't know if it's that much horror, other than like
Just it's weird.
Just the weirdness of it of
Okay.
not like part of figuring out like the mystery of like what the heck
does
this thing do, you know? Or like you have these things, we talked about this in the preview before, but you have these things that like fly over and will just like stick a tentacle down and like take a part off of your car.
Right.
It's like, no, give me my bumper back, dude. Come on. Go out and get it. But that's one thing like I haven't quite figured out too, is like, well, okay, well how do I attack them? Because I don't have like
do you have weapons?
Gun.
Yeah.
Right, so like, do I like use my blowtorch on them or something? Yeah. You know? Or I've got like there's this
repair them to death.
The scrapper that use like when you see like junk cars on the road, it's just like this basically like this big like
circular
saw that you just like, grind down the doors and like
skill saw.
Pick up all the raw resources.
So sick.
Yeah,
I love this. Yeah, can you like throw anything? Probably just like
sort of. Yeah,
got it.
But in terms
sort of.
Yeah,
mysterious.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
How do you sort of throw something? You roll it?
Sure. But no, I remember these things.
This video's gonna be 8 hours long.
Yeah.
Keep dicking around. Like
this is the only game, dude. Like this is one of the only games on my list for this year.
I'm stoked for this.
I like, unironically, but like seriously, I'm so friggin' hyped. This is like, it's taking so many things I love about video games and putting it in a package that I haven't really experienced.
Yeah.
It's a road-like.
Yeah,
Didn't
a
they say that?
road-like. It's so cool.
So good.
It seems so original, but also just like tapping into so many things I love. Yeah. Awesome.
And then the next thing I did here, I went in on a panel for Dead Space about lighting.
Oh.
And it was pretty cool. I sent you a quick little shot of their presentation.
Yeah, dude, I was pleased.
Dude, it was so funny. I was in Gameplay yesterday. It's a local game store. And I was getting games for Trash Babies. I was basically going down the Trash Babies master list, being like, do you have this one? No. Do you have this one? Yes. Okay, I'll take it. Do you have this one? No. Okay. I have another crappy game. Okay. The guy was like, what is going on? I explained it to him.
Like, why are you getting these bad games?
Yeah. But then there was a guy in there that was talking about Callisto Protocol v Dead Space. And they were saying like all the things that everyone was saying, you know, like I really liked the graphics, you know, the lighting was super good in Callisto Protocol, but Dead Space just really had the gameplay, you know, and I was just like, this is three of the conversations
they were like praising both.
They were into both, but they ended up on Dead Space.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, anyway, sorry, it was just because they were talking about the lighting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a great
The
point.
lighting is incredible.
Because you bring up Callisto, Dead Space, and now Resident Evil 4 Remake, and the lighting has like elevated another tier, it feels like, just in these last few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I won't try to like recap everything that they said, obviously, because those talks will, those are like hour-long talks, right?
Yeah.
But they're talking about like with the art direction, it's like horror first.
Yeah.
That's like the highest, the priority of like any decision that they make art-wise. It's like, it's got to like serve the horror, immersion, and then the lived-in world, And like one of the things that I was talking about, with you earlier was that like the light sources all have to come from somewhere. There's like no magic like video game lights. It's like, no, we need to have like light bulbs, things that you can identify where every light is coming from.
Prometheus, dude.
Yeah, dude, one of the best in Dead Space. There's like the red lights that go down the hallway, but it's like and there's just like a necromorph at the end of the hall, and it's just like the red of
playing that game on an OLED TV is like, horrifying because it's just when the lights are out, it's just pitch black. You can't see anything. You turn around with your flashlight and you're just like, oh god, there's a dude. Yeah.
But they talked about like pools of light like serving as kind of guides. They talked about using different kind of like
painting with light.
Color temperatures that kind of like clue you in on like, okay, you can go through this door or this door is locked, just on like a very subtle level that you don't even really necessarily notice.
Oh, that's awesome.
They talked about hard lights, like the deep contrast, you get those really dark black spaces. And then of course the atmosphere and everything. So like a computer screen is only blue if you can interact with it, stuff like that,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Smart.
And then they kind of broke down the centrifuge level, and like you kind of saw like the early like here's the big just chunky polygon version of it.
Yeah. Is that the one where you put in the two?
Yeah, I think so. It's like a big round room with a thing in the center.
Yeah, in the original you could only really walk, and this one you have to like kind of float and stick them in. Yeah.
So that was like a big thing, and they also said that like. They had like a very short time frame on this. It was like around 2 years or whatever that they put this game together.
Wow.
The whole game?
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looks so good. What the hell? I remember when they announced this and they were like, coming out pretty soon. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Same with Callisto, actually.
Yeah. This is one of the things I loved here. So like a film set.
Yeah.
Or even like a bar, really, they have work lights. So like when the artists and stuff are working on the level, they like have the whole like bank of lights that they turn on so that you can see the whole level, and then they turn them off for when it's the gameplay variant.
I mean, yeah, you basically have to.
That's fun, dude. What a vibe!
Trying to
action. Lights go off.
Trying to build a level in that game with the in-game lighting would be impossible. You can't see anything. It's so dark.
Never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Oh, the color gets desaturated to communicate when there's a lack of oxygen. So like that's
I love that.
That's really cool.
Super intentional.
I love that kind of stuff where it's like cinematic or game like visual narrative stuff where it's like that's not probably what would literally happen, but your brain just automatically understands like intuitively like
right.
The air's gone, the color's gone. Like, yeah, it just makes sense for some reason.
Far Cry 3, burning the weed, and your character's all like, whoa.
Yeah, you just know what's happening. That's so cool.
And then they talked about like different types of like fluorescent versus tungsten lighting, and they created the system so that they could change the flicker rate and stuff like that, like on a specific light without affecting every one of those lights in the engine, which
That's
is
smart.
really important in creating those vibes and like directing your attention and all that. So,
dude, I wonder what they're going to use this tech for next, like this engine or whatever.
Dead Space 2.
Well, or will they make something else? Like,
Yeah.
And then that night was the awards, and not a whole lot more to say. That's another thing.
Yeah, we covered that on
Jump in on the podcast, but just got to
Elden Ring.
Sit up there and check it out for both the IGF awards and the GDC awards, and said hi to a couple people there. And good times. Always like being there on the.
Do you know who hosted
floor.
IGF this year?
Yeah,
don't sweat it.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I was there obviously. But
Yeah. I'd put you on the spot.
A lot of moving parts, but
yeah.
The first thing I went to the next morning, though, was the Immortality panel.
Hell yeah.
You're pumped.
I want to watch this later.
Yeah, it would be really good to to see Sam go through all of it because there was a lot of depth and a lot of detail.
I mean, because I've always wanted to because filmmaking was like is my first passion. You know, I would love to make a game like Immortality. Holy shit, I'm so jealous of this game.
Yeah,
I want to.
What's stopping you?
Time.
Yeah, lots of
this
time.
job.
But
you, Huber.
Damn it. These questions.
I have the answers.
But yeah, a lot of what he was talking about, like from the start, was the idea of these narrative containers that we have, and like how games kind of let us throw away these containers. Because like a TV plot structure is based around, the fact that there's going to have to be however so many commercial breaks in there.
B-block.
And then same thing with like your seasons. It's like, okay, how many episodes have we got? That's how our plot structure has to be fit over, And then he said that like, movies are the length that they are because there are limits to the human bladder. Whereas in a game, like you can throw all this out. You can make, the plot truly interactive. And he's talking about the strengths that games have is like challenge, expression, and exploration, and like doing all of that from something that is just so narrative focused, and like how that's evolved from her story.
Really speaking my language.
Yeah. So like
that.
with her.
Did you play this?
Not yet. Not yet. I love the way he talks about narrative because
you would like this game, dude.
Oh, I know, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
so like her story was like deconstructing like this detective story.
Yeah.
It was kind of his first go at this. Telling Lies was sort of like making an anti-movie. And then Immortality was like breaking down how movies work and how they're made. And yeah, I'm trying to think about what else.
Bloodworth, do you have the answers? How the hell did the match cut thing work? Is it just like a database of 100 like image maps of like click here and it goes to this and it's like a spreadsheet of similar items? And
a lot of gigantic spreadsheets. A lot of the stuff is just straight up work of like finding
classifying
things
everything
that look like interesting items in a scene and then like documenting them and then like okay and then like this can match with like an apple can match with an orange or this coffee cup can match with that coffee cup or cigarette.
You can click on some surprising things, Huber. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Let's see. The theme being like why do humans tell stories and like creating something that like lives beyond them or whatever, and then talking about this kind of if that is the purpose of storytelling or whatever, or the kind of the intention, then what about the dead movies? What about the movies that don't get finished? And that's kind of like what Immortality is all about.
Yeah.
And he kind of related it back to the Legacy of Kain game that he worked on for like 3 years and then got canceled.
Damn.
Whoa.
And so in some ways it's sort of autobiographical.
Yeah. That's sick.
But so like it's telling the story like through these 3 like unfinished films, and then he also there was some Orson Welles movie that he was talking about, The Deep. I think if you're familiar with it.
I'm not.
Yeah, half finished, like ran out of money.
Oh, okay. I knew about. Yeah, okay. I didn't know what it was called.
Come out recently? They like finally released that, right?
Maybe.
Was that a different one?
No, I don't think so. But they did talk about Eyes Wide Shut as well. That when Kubrick went through so many different iterations and actors and all that
fucking movie. 10 out of 10.
And the theatrical release is different from the home release too, which is crazy.
And then and that was he'd actually mentioned that about like how he kept editing it after it was done, basically.
Died before it came out.
But there was a year of just researching on Immortality and watching these things, and he was showing like some of these like old clips from different things that sort of inspired the scenes, like the talk show scenes or whatever, and really talked about like how actresses were handled by Hollywood at different stages, and that was sort of one of the reasons that they picked the eras that they did, like the 1968, which was like sort of the end of like that classic studio era, and then 72, which was like the rise of the indie movies, and then 99, which was sort of like the last hurrah for like traditional filmmaking before digital really hit. And so it's interesting to kind of see all that stuff.
Well, and her role and like the amount of power she has changes through the times. It's really cool.
Sick.
Yeah, and he was showing like how like Rita Hayworth had been like physically transformed essentially to please the aesthetics that the studio wanted out of her. And,
oh, dude, no doubt.
Like all this plastic surgery and stuff that they did.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, so it's just there's just so much stuff. But yeah, the mechanics of like being like a moviola, which is like a thing I'd never even heard of before, but it's like old editing equipment.
Yeah.
And the excitement of like reaching in and, you know, not knowing what's going to be on this film reel until you put it in there and seeing what it has.
That's a cool feeling.
Yeah. It feels like a haunted moviola because it just like mystically like match cuts to a different piece of footage. But they captured a cool way of like, obviously editing doesn't feel exactly like this, but like it feels like a video game version of video editing, like hidden weird lost footage. Is really neat.
Yeah, and he showed like some clips from some other like directors and things who had really gotten into like this idea of like rewinding and like zooming in on the footage so far that like you could see like the grody film grain and stuff like that. And just talked about like how much time they put into like making that feel of like flicking feel right.
Yeah.
And sort of that same theme of like rewinding in film is sort of like bringing something back to life kind of thing, you know. Also credited Metroid Prime for the audio cues. Like once you learn those audio cues that came from how Metroid Prime, like you hear when there's secrets nearby.
Also use the vibrate, like play on a controller for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much necessary, I'd say.
They did a lot of work trying to recreate the film grain and talked about like how, you know, like basically there's two grains. There's the grain that is on the actual film, like when they shoot it, and then there's the second grain, like on the, you know, the film when they print the, you know, and so like trying to recreate that and making it in a way that doesn't feel artificial and paying
different
attention.
film stocks and stuff. That was something I appreciated, is like the different periods and the behind the scenes stuff versus the actual film stuff. Like all had different film stocks. Like the BTS stuff was like cheap film stock, you know?
That's cool.
I mean,
I love when she like picked up the camera and like the hotel room in that one scene.
I mean, I assume they shot all of this digitally, but
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was all like a lot of just post processing and and then they, you know, the different aspect ratios as well.
Yeah.
Filmed in IMAX style.
Yeah, right. On film. This is $80 billion game.
And he talked about
much, but it'd be expensive.
The grid with that wall of scenes, you know, being like, you know, the core interface, and that's just something like he loved the idea of one of it like stopping wherever you stopped, like that would be the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And then and then also, you know, like allowing the player to feel overwhelmed by how much is there on that page.
I would intentionally. That's like. Not only is that a cool kind of subconscious like organizational thing, but I was intentionally using that organizationally. And I'll do this when I'm actually video editing too, where it's like stopping the playhead on a memorable moment in a shot so I could remember which shot it was, so I could come back to it later and be like, okay, that's the one with that gun in it, you know, or that's the one with that eyeball in it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically like work.
So, yeah.
In the best way.
This is, I had already answered this, but yeah, with the match code, he said, sometimes the solution is just to do a huge amount of work. So they like had lists and ranking algorithm, like, it also had like an awareness of spookiness. So like if you hadn't seen something spooky for a while, then it would...
Yeah, it's like Dead Space.
Up it.
Yeah, but it would increase your chances of seeing something spooky when you match cut it to something else.
That makes sense, because there were some times where it did feel like it kind of gave it this like Ghost in the Machine kind of a feel, because it was like, how did you know I should see this right now? Like there were some times where it felt like kind of more intentional than it seemed like the game could have been doing. Also, like when the game ends, I assume it's just like, you've seen enough of these 4 different plot lines for the credits now. But it's like, or I guess you probably have to see one very specific shot, but like... Yeah. I wonder if the game would let you accidentally stumble on the ending like almost immediately, but I
don't think so. Yeah. The way that works.
It's pretty buried.
You definitely have to see enough of it. Yeah. Oh, but I mean, yeah, there's one shot in particular you might be talking about.
Yeah.
Which he also like they hinted at in the marketing materials as well.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Once you know what it is, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. But yeah, lots of spreadsheets, documenting everything that's happening with Marissa over the years.
Yeah.
All the 3 plots of those movies. They actually had those movies fully scripted out before
they're written as full feature films by 3 different writers.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool.
And then injecting the making of and behind the scenes stuff. Like what would naturally be happening, because they also had to like come up with this. Yeah, okay, here's the script.
Right.
But then how would you shoot this script if you were going to make a real movie? You know?
Can you watch
and like which scenes are table read and which? Well, that was something I was wondering for. I wonder if someone on YouTube has done this. They just put all the footage in chronological order. It would obviously rob the game of what it's doing, and you would miss out unless they included some of the other stuff. But yeah, because some of it's not like. A table is not directly from a script, it's talking on a talk show or like behind the scenes, just like dicking around footage, but you could weave it all together.
Yeah. Some of them will be like a rehearsal, and like some of them they'll just be in plain clothes. Other times they'll be a dress rehearsal or whatever.
Horrible wigs.
Yeah.
Kind of in general, in and out of the movies, just, that's my one big note. Get better wigs. Unless it's on purpose, I don't know.
I think it's on purpose.
It must be on purpose.
Yeah, because again, they were supposed to be these indie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fully.
Yeah.
It makes me think of On the Silver Globe. Look into that. It's really good. I've talked about it on Reaction Shots before, but it was like a movie where parts of it were missing, and the director kind of just filled in the blanks by explaining what would have gone here.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and like you had,
it's awesome.
It's so awesome.
Like you remember how like there's that one like in the talk show or whatever how they had talked about like. They discovered her, right? They wanted to find somebody that wasn't, and he had actually brought up like a scene from a talk show where a real director had done this. He'd like gone through like 18,000 girls to find this 17-year-old girl to be his actress, and he was just like pointing out, just like look at the way that they treated this person when they were on stage and the body language and everything. It was just like, yeah. The sense of like, yeah, we discovered you, so now we own you kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But very cool, all of the stuff that went into that. And yeah, he's going to, like he said, he's going to continue exploring like these ideas of like RNG and narrative and all of that. And exploring a narrative for yourself. What's next? I met up with a contact who like literally had just wanted to see me in person after emailing me for years and years, which was great.
Yeah. We get it, Blood. You're cool and popular.
Cool.
And you meet lots of neat people. People seek you out.
I don't think we'll talk about this for long because this is I try to do this.
Challenge accepted.
I try to do this at GDC. Go into something that is so far over my head that I cannot explain it afterwards.
Perfect.
Look forward to this.
I went to a Cyberpunk technology panel on building Night City.
Shit.
Probably they can't even explain
literally it. Just about every slide had just like screenshots of code. Like just
Matrix.
Code and code and code.
Yeah.
And talking about like going from the Red Engine, like from Witcher 2 to Witcher 2 Xbox and adding another platform to Witcher 3 being fully multi-platform, and then Cyberpunk going from like a forest to a city that's like twice as large, full of vehicles and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah. Did they talk about last gen limitations?
I think they did to some extent.
LGL.
Let me see what I've got here. Yeah, like literally like going into like the details of like memory management and budgets for this and that and like all of the different things that have to happen in every frame and like that the chunks like seeing like it's looking like it's like looking at like an old like when you used to defrag your hard drive.
Yes.
It was like a lot of screens that look like that.
Got it.
And then they showed graphs of like the performance mode versus the ray tracing mode and the different like things that were happening per frame and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
15 million objects, 30 million foliage instances.
Damn.
Get that speed tree in there.
Yeah. I think that's part. You build those foliage instances with that.
Yeah.
like 256 meters or whatever. Oh, they showed like kind of like the different priorities of like when objects stream in from what ranges or whatever. And they're like, if you're going
LOD,
if you're going at a certain speed, yeah, like we're not going to load interiors because there's no sense because you're just going to fly right by them.
Yeah.
I said 8,000. I think I wrote down 8,000 different appearances of enemies and vehicles. Just all kinds of craziness.
It's a good number, actually.
Oh yeah, they showed like just what they call the entity component system. Like basically, it's like a test for like shooting like they called it a meat bag, and like seeing like the collision of like the shot being fired and the projectile hitting it, and then the state of the object getting damaged and that kind of thing. Just like all this like super nitty gritty craziness. 3,000 to 4,000 animations in the game.
Not one for eating food, really, though. Only in like very specific cutscenes. But like when you go, that was always my biggest disappointment. Going up to like a bar and ordering a drink, and it's just like menu, click.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like, no, let me get like the beer, like, or the burger. Like,
yeah.
Love that.
Sea of Thieves can do it.
Love that shit.
You're talking about having, they were having problems with the AI from beginning to end and scaling. They're talking about PS4, Witcher 3 versus Cyberpunk. Like Witcher 3, they had lots of space left.
Yeah.
I think in like their memory bandwidth and stuff like that. Whereas like Cyberpunk, it was like crazy full.
Jeez.
And then scalability is hard. Multi-threaded code is very hard. Flexibility has a cost. And he literally said some areas of the game were badly made.
So they were just super upfront and honest about
critical tools had to be remade and
like were they talking about?
Just they said that they rewrote things that they never should have, kind of thing. Yeah.
Were they? Did they talk about like the year or so of like fixing the game and what that was like?
To a degree, yeah. And he also mentioned like Witcher 3 Next Gen being a nightmare, but didn't really get too into specifics on that. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
It finally works now.
Yeah.
We got there.
We got there.
But yeah, most of it was like a lot of stuff that like even like trying to, I couldn't even write it all down. Like just trying to absorb it and follow along was a challenge.
It would be alien to me for sure. I'm excited for the expansion though, because that's not on last gen, right? That'll be
right.
And now they've gotten, they've like fixed everything.
They've learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah,
and they're still working on
high hopes there.
Improving the engine and all that.
Still probably gonna wait a few months till I play it though. It's my CD Projekt rule now.
Oh sure.
Waiting months. Patches.
Like Bethesda, you wait like 6-7
3
years.
minimum
the game
patches.
is playable. Yeah.
Getting back to some game demos. Played Surmount.
Oh yeah.
Which is this jolly little climbing game inspired by stuff like DK Jungle Climber, which was on the Game Boy Advance, and they did mention Getting Over It as well.
Bennett Foddy, yeah.
But the idea being that like just there's this huge like culture of guys trying to climb this huge mountain that nobody's ever reached the top of before. And it's real cute and cartoony graphics. We'll run a little bit of B-roll here, but you have like your hands are basically like circles essentially, and so
it's like QWOP or whatever. Is it like nightmare physics? Or
no, it's not really.
Oh, okay.
But it's just like you use the left trigger to grab with one hand, or grab with the left hand, and use the right trigger to grab with the other hand.
Fogs, maybe. There was like some other game that was.
Oh,
like
I think you're thinking of Heave Ho. I think.
Oh, Heave Ho. Yeah.
And then you can spin to kind of like flick yourself up higher.
Yeah.
You also there's a lot of like little anchor points that you can like clip your safety line into, so that like if you fall, you don't fall too far.
Nice.
We're also playing it in co-op, so you can do either co-op or single player.
That's fun.
But when you're in co-op, like you can kind of use the D-pad to kind of like change the length of the rope between you. So like if one person gets up to a safe point, then you can kind of like use that, kinda pull them up a little bit to help them swing up quicker without having to go the same route. It's a mix of like of procedural and handcrafted areas.
Nice.
Oh.
So they're like these upgrades and stuff that you get throughout the game, and it sounds like you find certain points on the mountain, and then you go off to like one of these side branches, and you climb through there, and that's how you get one of the upgrades.
Hmm.
And then you come back, and then the main mountain is what's procedural and changes every time. But they're saying that the way that things worked out with the shapes and the way it's all put together is that it doesn't create that sense of you're seeing the same thing over and over again. Like you really, feel like you're seeing something
that's good,
fresh, every time.
I was getting
around.
some Celeste vibes, just shades of Celeste, just with like the story moments.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, like you meet other people along the way and talk
cool.
to them, and there's definitely a story and like other campers and stuff. And there's a lot of times to where like you find like these kind of like flat parts of the mountain to refill your stamina, but it also just chill out for a second and maybe find somebody or talk to somebody.
Nice.
In addition to like the regular like sidewalls that you just kind of go back and forth on. You also can go up ones that are like, it's like kind of like a funnel almost. That like you just have the side and you do what they call like a crab walk, where it's like you go flump, 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 and they gave one of these things here that's like the old
window sticky folly guys.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly. It's like the old
window
things
sticky
from
folly
the
guys.
cereal box.
Window sticky folly guys.
Of course.
And so it's like dunk, dunk, dunk. But you just imagine doing that going up rather than falling down.
That's cool.
Essentially,
window sticky climby guy. There.
And then there are also like some parts that are just like little ledges, sort of like the kind of like the little white parts that are mapped out on Uncharted or whatever that you would shimmy over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So where basically like you just have like a small little spot to cling on to, and then there are also like trees that'll kind of sway back and forth, or like windmills and things like that to climb up. But yeah, it's a fun little game, and it sounds like, if you like once you've completed a run, then if you want to go back and challenge yourself more, like you can try to go up through it without doing any upgrades or whatever.
I like that it's single player and co-op too.
Yeah.
Two totally different vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can just totally see like you yelling at each other or whatever.
Yeah. No, go up.
But yeah, it's a cool little game. And then another one, and that was in the Day of the Devs area.
Okay.
Yeah. And then another one that was there is Another Crab's Treasure. And I love the way you were acting to this, because it's just like,
what am I looking at here?
seeing so many different things at once. And so it's underwater, you play as a crab. And it's sort of like a mix between like a 3D platformer, like a Banjo-Kazooie kind of thing, and Dark Souls.
It's a Shells-like, as they said.
Yeah. And kind of the way it works is there are different objects that you can use as shells. And so you grab like a soda can or a party hat or a bottle cap or whatever, and that will sort of be like your defense, your armor.
Yeah, the mug.
Yeah, a mug.
Sick.
But that has durability. So when you get hit, there's like a blue meter that goes down, and then once you get hit enough, then that item will just break.
Durability. Everyone is scared.
But like even in like one boss fight,
I like durability.
Still bitter.
Yeah, I like it in Breath
Me
of the Wild.
too.
in one boss fight, there was like 5 or 6 items because it'll tear through them so fast. So it really is.
Hell yeah.
Like
Adapt.
yeah.
Do
Love
you need
that.
to worry about like the stats on the items, or do you just like use them and that's how it is?
Well, you can, because they're saying like the weight of some items will affect how
Oh.
fast that you can dodge.
Oh, okay.
And they said that some of them will have like different attributes like electricity and things like that as well.
Neat.
And then some of them, just take more hits than other things. So it's like in the demo, it's like you'd rather have the soda can than the bottle cap. And there's also a parry mechanic tied to it. So
Parry,
basically you block by like going into your shell. But if you pop out at just the right time, you'll parry.
Interesting.
And
Did you get hands-on on this?
Yeah. It was
How'd that feel? What's the timing on that?
Well, that was the thing. At first, I didn't have someone to explain it to me.
Yeah.
So, like, I could tell that there was a parry thing because I was doing it now and then. But, I was, like, trying to figure it out. But even the guy was like, yeah, it feels like maybe there's, like, extra lag on the TV that's here or something. Because
Input lag.
Brutal.
Yeah. Input lag.
Brutal.
Like that should have worked.
Yeah.
Nothing is more frustrating in a game, like a rhythm game or a parry timing game, when there's some kind of lag, but then like somebody else can do it. So you start thinking you're crazy. You're like gaslit by the parry mechanics. Yeah.
But there is like a fair amount of platforming too. Yeah. So like we were like hopping across jellyfish that were sort of swimming back and forth. And there's like a Yoshi style like flutter jump. So like you jump and hold the button and kind of like float a little bit. But then there's also sort of like a distinct stamina meter that seems tied to that.
That's good.
So I wonder if that's something you can upgrade.
I bet.
In terms of health, I'm trying to think, because it's sort of like an Estus flask, but it's different. So like you get these like green like kelp hearts. But it reminds me of something else, but I can't think of what it is.
Life gems?
Maybe. It's more like a life gem than an Estus. Yeah. So basically, like, you hold it up and wait for it to pop.
Yeah.
So you need a second.
God, I love smashing those life gems. Feels so good.
Or blood vials and Bloodborne?
Yes, dude.
But you had 3 by default, but you could also, like, find them sometimes by defeating enemies, or they'll be growing on like a stalk of kelp, but they would be like physical objects. And I mentioned in the podcast too, but basically there's a point, the checkpoint before the boss fight was at the top of this cliff, and there was one of those kelp hearts there. And so like, well, I've restarted the checkpoint and I'm full with 3, but then like I just started like hitting the button to like nudge the 4th one like towards the edge of the cliff and knocked it down the cliff. So
Damiani would be pleased.
You Damiani did.
Yeah. So good,
but it's just real fun to see like the different because they're all like using trash as weapons.
The weapons were so cool. It was like the rusted fork and knife, the chopsticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this boss, he had like a glass bottle.
Jeez.
And so he's like smashing it down like a club at first. And then after you get enough of his health knocked out, then they have like this skull icon. It's like big warning, like he's going to do a huge attack. And he like takes it with both claws and just like smashes it down on you. And when he does that, it breaks the bottle in half. And now he's got a spiky bottle.
Yeah.
And so now he's got like chop, jab, 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 spear attack.
That's cool.
So you have to learn, the different moves to the different phases of the fight.
Sounds fun.
So yeah. Fun looking game.
When's the demo?
I don't know.
This thing needs a demo.
They were very like, it was like one of those demos like very clear. It's like, this is an early build.
Right.
Yeah. I'm ready to play.
But yeah, that'll definitely be cool to see a demo for that one and get everybody's thoughts on it. I had that one ran a little long. I was waiting on them to show up, come by, because there's some miscommunication on the appointment times between the two of us.
Is that staying in the video?
Sure. It's just what happens. Just the facts of life. But I'm
a lot of moving parts.
The disappointment was that like I had to eat at that point, and so I missed the Shredder's Revenge panel. I'm sorry. I had to apologize to Huber for that.
What was the panel about specifically?
I think it was just more general behind the scenes. Yeah,
that's cool.
Lighting, horror.
The Turtles, dude, Shredder's Revenge lighting.
Yeah.
Unbelievable
horror
lighting.
First, immersion second.
I saw
that world map.
Yeah.
I saw a couple other things that we'll get to a bit later, so keep an eye out for those videos. But the last thing I saw that day was a Viewfinder.
Oh, yeah.
Which is this first-person puzzle game. That's really neat, really cool. And
you know me with puzzles. This looks amazing.
Yeah.
I'm intimidated.
Wait, you're not afraid of this game?
I'm afraid, but I'm willingly afraid.
No lasers.
Yeah, just beautiful scenery.
Yeah.
No lasers that I've seen.
Right. Okay. There could be lasers.
Okay.
Yeah. But this takes place in a virtual world that you're exploring as the character. It's virtual as well, and they say that'll get explained throughout as you go through the story. But the basic idea of this mechanic is that you will pick up a photograph and then you kind of like place it in perspective or whatever. And then when you release it, that perspective now becomes 3D. It becomes a space that you can walk into.
It's nuts.
And there's all kinds of different tricks and things that work to that. So, so like if they showed one where if you take like the side of a building and then tilt it kind of diagonally, then you can use that side of a building as a ramp to go up to a higher platform. There are certain items where gravity will affect it and certain items where they won't. Like if you flip something upside down, then that item will fall, so you can kind of put it above you and like let it fall onto the area where you're at. Or there's times
gravity.
Where, I was gonna say that makes programming this even harder. Like, because I was like, if none of the environments have physics, that you can just overlay them, I guess. Blah blah blah. I mean, it's way harder than that, I bet. But like, them having physics makes this even more impossible. Like, how do you program this? Like, I think the same thing with like Gorogoa or even Echochrome.
Yeah.
Like. Or Stanley Parable or Scale or any of those where it's just like, how do you do this?
Right.
It's wild.
And then then there's one where it's like the picture contains the picture in itself.
Oh.
And so like there's this, because you get to new areas by accessing these teleporters. And so...
Brundlefly.
So you see... you have to get to the teleporter. But what's interesting, Isla, about how this works too, is that you overwrite what's in the world.
That's what I figured.
So the first time I put it down, I destroyed the teleporter. So there's a rewind button, and so you can either like gradually rewind it to any point, or you can like double tap it to go to like the last significant thing that you did, the last thing that you screwed up, basically.
You shouldn't have done this.
Yeah. And so, but because the picture had the picture inside of it,
right?
Then it's you did like kind of like a back and forth. You kind of like get a juke. So like, okay, make a path go here, pick up the picture again, make a path go here, pick it up again. And then I also sort of had to angle it so that because I saw that I was like starting to like go below the platform that I was running to. It's like, okay, make sure I angle it up a little bit. And then there are also sometimes to power the teleporters, you have these batteries that you have to put on like these platforms. So you need like a certain number of batteries to power the teleporter to the next space.
Oh, okay.
But pretty quickly in as well, you get a camera. So now you can take a picture of anything and
okay, how do you program
duplicate
that?
Yeah,
what?
That seems
I don't
infinite.
know. Wizardry.
They had a battery up on this pedestal that you couldn't get to, and one of the ways that you could get to that battery is take a picture of it and then just like
put it down there.
It below where you can pick it up.
Whoa.
Does that duplicate the battery? Did the real one stay there, or do
the
you
real one
take
stays there, unless you overwrite it, of course.
Right.
But then in that same area, they had a couple of cute little things where like there were pictures of video games, and like there's literally a picture of Tetris, and then when you placed it, the Tetris blocks would fall like in whatever direction you placed
That's
it.
some
That's
10 out of 10
funny.
pander. Love
But you
that.
could-
Tricky towers. Dude.
And there was another one that had like would look like either like an Elec head or like a Mega Man kind of scene. And when you placed it down, you could actually like jump onto the screenshot, and like there were like different levels of like the HUD and all of this stuff and the crates and stuff in the screenshot. But there's also a power up that lets you jump higher. And the crazy thing with that was that if you put it down and then you took a picture of it, you can pick up that power up multiple times and exponentially increase your jump. So now, rather than solving the puzzle to get by the fence, you just jump over the fence.
Awesome. This game sounds rad.
Is that persistent forever?
I think it's just for that when
that
you teleport,
level?
then it goes away.
Oh,
But,
okay.
but there's all kinds of weird little
wanna
things
s-
to be on the lookout for.
I want to see Damiani play this because it would be like
He would refuse to do anything intended. Yeah.
yeah. Just he would try to solve it in like the
Well, that's what I love.
weirdest way.
Like, that's what I love about games like this, though. Sometimes is Talos Principle will get you with this all the time, where it's you think you're doing something, you think you're breaking the game, like you think you're like piling these things up and jumping over a wall that like you're not supposed to be doing, and then you'll see like the devs put an Easter egg over there about you doing that. You
Right.
know? So it's
Funny.
like, oh, okay.
Right.
You planned for this, like you knew, or like yeah, you can get into a different puzzle like that, and they're like, okay, sure.
I wrote that down a little too early. Anyways, then that night, I got to experience real GDC history I went out to Denny's with Xalavier. Who's the developer behind El Paso Elsewhere.
Nice.
Okay.
Things went down last year at GDC.
Everyone got COVID, which I'm hoping you didn't bring back to us.
I'm hoping to.
Because this week is screwed if we...
Yeah. Somehow, at last GDC, Xalavier ended up going to Denny's over and over and over, and it's now, like, inextricably tied to his identity.
Denny's.
Yeah, and so like people even said like I thought like this Denny's thing was just like some kind of weird Bigfoot meme or whatever, and then it's like, wait, you're actually going to Denny's, you know? But yeah, I was just going to see if I could like if he was doing anything, I could chat with him a bit more, and he was like, we're going to Denny's right now. And then it turned out that his milkshake was too wet, which we all tried to determine what that meant.
Watery. It's too watered down. You need
game
that.
devs from around the world were diagramming out the multiple dimensions of milkshake properties.
Yeah, consistency.
On an
That sounds
That's
like
a huge part of
that. Sounds
milkshake.
like a very typical game dev lunch.
Yeah, and it was like, and it just kept growing because I showed up. There was a booth, but then before long, like we couldn't fit everybody there, and so like started stacking up tables, and then people started seeing the tweets, and so these started showing up, and yeah. It was
That's
Grand
very
Slam?
GDC.
It was madness.
You get the Grand Slam?
No, I had already eaten, so I just got like a dessert with like the Panuki or whatever.
So you didn't get the secondary feature of Denny's, which is the diarrhea.
I'm fine with Denny's, but it's still. I got to experience it. I was there for the Denny's madness. But back to what you were saying about Viewfinder and secrets. The first thing I went to in the morning was Tunic.
God damn it.
Tunic.
And talk on that. And oh my gosh. Basically, it was titled, This Was Here the Whole Time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about the joy of
This
not
sounds very
knowing.
spoilery, Blood.
Oh, it was. So yeah, if you have not played Tunic, just skip to the next thing in the
I haven't played Tunic.
Oh, well, there's some spoilers you might hear.
There is no chance any human figured out the true ending without a guide. I just don't
No, I
believe it.
figured that. That one's not one. That's not too hard.
All the like
You're
hidden,
an idiot, Huber.
all the hidden codes on hidden
Says
walls.
Bloodworth.
Yeah, the Holy Cross stuff, that's amazing, yeah.
You solved it. You got the true ending of Tunic, and you didn't look a single thing up. I do not believe
No,
it. I don't believe it.
I don't say I didn't look a single thing up, but there was like one thing that I was like was crazy was going out to the menu or whatever that like that, but I was like on the right track.
That's what I mean. The secrets rule, but like when it's to a point where seriously, I highly doubt more than 5% of players will ever do that without having to look it up.
You're getting directly into what he was saying.
This is great. I want to know. I want to know.
There are 90% secrets and there are 15% secrets, and your game should even have a couple of 0% secrets.
That
Where
nobody
you have
gets.
to look it up.
He showed things.
We have to look it
where
up.
I thought because afterwards, because it's like there's the true ending, optional ending that's there.
Yeah.
Which I was, like I said, I was already on the right track. There was a couple of things that like I didn't quite get, and so like I got like enough of a hint to get me on the right track. But then like a lot of the other like some of the other optional stuff afterwards, you know, I did want to just like I'll just go with the guide because some of this stuff is like a little bit too crazy.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it was. But even though I had thought in my head I had seen it all, he was showing stuff in this talk. And it was like, there's like a whole like prototype level hidden in there.
Cool.
From like an earlier build of the game and all of that kind of thing. Yeah. So, so it was really interesting because he's talking about basically there's like 3 stages of secrets. There's ignorance where you just don't even know that there's something there. There's knowledge, which is like when you're solving the puzzle, essentially. It's like you know that there's something to this, but you don't know what it is. And he's saying like that's the sweet spot. That's where you want people to be
Resident Evil.
in a puzzle game.
Resident Evil.
And then there's understanding. It's like, you've got that aha moment. You've solved it, and now you just, you know how that thing works. Right. And just talking about having stuff that's there like right from the start of the game that like you can see that this thing's probably significant. But you don't have a clue yet. You just kind of walk by because it sort of looks like a decoration, but maybe there's more to it, maybe not.
Yeah.
Also, talked a lot about having loose ends and speculating on them, and it's like, okay, I know that there's a way that I can upgrade my character, and I have this weird item that I don't know what it does, and then eventually getting to that point of like, oh, this weird item is how I upgrade my character. I just hadn't learned how to actually mechanically do that yet.
Yeah.
And then
I remember that.
Yeah. And then, oh yeah, like another thing is like, yeah, just saying like you see that you come into this area and like you see that there's something there, and then you see like these other like purple lines in the world, but you don't like really understand that they have anything to do with each other, And then like again, like eventually, like you put these things together.
Should gotta watch this.
Yeah,
because it's like
really great.
Because I'm cool with 0% secrets. I'm so cool with that. People like never figuring a thing out. But when it's directly tied to the true ending of the game, that's when I'm like,
I feel like
that seems weird.
To me, I always feel like the intention, like the pie in the sky intention, is like back in the day, like when we were in elementary school, pre-internet, right?
Yeah.
People at school talk about it.
Right.
Like, oh, somebody read something, or somebody's older brother told them something that they read in a Japanese magazine about something, and then everyone goes on this quest to figure it out.
I love that.
I always think that's what the devs are after.
That's great.
Even
that's
like FromSoft and stuff.
But that's what I'm saying here.
But it's like half the time Fextra Life or whatever just like fills in that gap.
Yeah,
which I think is fine too.
That's what I'm saying though. Like with the stuff that leads to the true ending, like I know that you think it's like more on the obscure side, but the breadcrumbs, the hints are all there
for sure.
They are all there
for sure.
It's just about you like connecting those dots.
Definitely,
it really is
with lasers.
With some insane.
I feel like I missed the boat on this game. I missed the zeitgeist. Like you think you missed the zeitgeist on Animal Crossing. I feel like I missed the Tunic zeitgeist.
And then and again, like one of those like kind of like 5% secrets or 10% secrets is the language, because that's an actual language you can read here. And there's just enough there, for people to start sorting out words and putting all of that stuff together. But then there's also sort of the English that's in there to kind of like, okay, this here, like I understand that like this header
and stuff they use like
words,
like little words.
So everything in here has to do with upgrades or whatever that's on this page. But then there's, the people that figure out that language and can decipher it and then translated the whole instruction manual.
Is it just a cipher or what was it?
I don't remember exactly like how the language actually works, but it's this crazy like glyph language.
It's like when you're doing like Myst puzzles or whatever, when their number system is in like base 8 or some shit, and you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
They talked about...
You always tell me how you're like writing shit down.
Yeah. Right? You're just like, God damn it.
They talked about being careful with symmetry in terms of like how like, sometimes like if you've played so many Zelda games and you sort of like start to see the pattern and it's like, okay, I'm going to get an item and the item's going to be used on the weird thing and then the item's going to be used on the boss and it's sort of repetition. And so he's saying like one of the things that they did to sort of like break up that like pattern recognition is in an earlier build, like a lot of the items they all sort of look the same but were different colors. And so when they changed them into like completely different looking objects, then it's helped to preserve like that mystery of like what is this thing a little bit longer. And then and there's another thing to where it's on that same effect. One of the items you get, it like goes outside of the boundaries of the grid in your inventory. The grid. So you think that that's how many items I'm going to get, and it's like, no, there's actually more.
yeah, that's good. That's smart. That's good. Anticipating the gamer's brain. Seems like
did you play Outer Wilds?
Yeah.
Did you play Echoes of the Eye?
I have not played Echoes of the Eye yet.
You got to play Echoes of the
Eye. But yeah, as you're talking about the coolness of, this was here all along, being like in real life, things don't magically appear.
Yeah.
And you could have found it early, and you may have never found it. And just that idea, and again, like what you're saying, like some people are never going to do this, because they just walked by and they didn't notice that clue or that hint.
That Arkham City life.
Mm-hmm.
Those secrets that are like in the very beginning of the game that were discovered years later.
Even RE4, where it's like first village area has like a thing you need Ashley for.
Yeah.
Like
we're just like going back to the car in the original.
Well, and they were relating it back to Zelda and bombable walls, and so like it's hard to put yourself back in that place before you knew that that's something you could do, but it's like once you accidentally bomb a wall and something happens, then it's like it just opens up your mind. It's like, where else can I do this?
Eureka.
Yeah.
Knowledge-based puzzles, dude.
But back to kind of what we were saying with Viewfinder is like creating space for people to go places they're not supposed to. And so he was talking about the difference between like hard gates and soft gates and what he called firm gates. And so like a hard gate is
sounds like ramen noodles.
You need a key to get through, and that's the only way you're going to get through is with that key.
It's a gate.
Yeah. A soft gate is like, okay, there's this really hard enemy blocking this path, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to get past this guy, but if you look, you'll find other ways around him or ways to like maybe cheese him off the ledge or whatever. And then firm gates are basically it's supposed to be a hard gate, but we know that there's another way around it. And so that's kind of the stuff the speedrunners take advantage of.
Right.
And so he showed this point where there was a skip where like you can use this combination of items to kind of like pull yourself up a level before you're supposed to get there.
Cool.
But they put in that solving chime to kind of give the player a clue that's like, hey, you think you broke the game, but we knew you could do this.
Yeah. It's like, it's okay. We know. That's funny.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun stuff like that. It was, it's a really fun talk. And I hope that's one that makes it out of the vault and gets into some more people's ears because it's really cool to hear them go through it. I'm going to start playing this one for you. Let me write down a time.
Didn't you say last one like 3 things ago?
No, I think it was like last one of the day or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm not complaining.
No, there's a ton of stuff. I'm sorry.
I was just like, blood's still going.
This is where it's at.
It's got the book out.
The Book of Blood, dude. I dread this book. This one's blue, though. That's different.
Oh, yeah. This is my new GDC book.
Shit.
The
emote's out of date.
But, well, I'm still using the other book. I just needed a fresh one for GDC because I didn't have enough. Like, it's going to run out soon.
Yeah.
But Huber, I got to play some Layers of Fear.
Fuck yeah.
It's really interesting what they're doing with this. They've got it on the new
Hyped
Unreal, and they're doing a lot with lighting and stuff.
Hyped. Shout out to Elise Williams.
Yeah.
We played Layers of Fear when it first came out together.
So if you're not familiar, this game is kind of like basically the Ultimate Edition. It combines the previous games and then adds another layer on top that kind of stitches it all together.
Yeah, which is sweet. Which is so sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was originally called Layers of Fears, and they recently just fixed that.
Did they drop the S on Fears or what?
Yeah.
Okay, because when you typed it the other day, I was like, wait, is that a typo?
Right.
That's good, because that was stupid.
But yes.
This game is cool, but that was a little silly.
But yeah, so they have this new character that's the writer. Who's this woman who...
So dark.
Yeah, I can't see anything. Just don't even bother. You can't see anything.
Well, it'll just be looping anyways. Yeah. But the writer is like sent by her agent or somebody to this lighthouse.
It's always a lighthouse.
To write her horror stories.
There's always an agent.
And then they call as soon as she gets there and like, you get to work. Really weird. So there's stuff going on with her story as well. Yeah.
Sounds like somebody is telling lies.
Maybe somebody has immortality.
But it's
so
interesting
dumb.
though because
we're so dumb.
There's a couple of times where like the only thing you can do is go down to the typewriter and start writing, but then like something will happen, like the phone will ring or you'll hear this thud and then one of the doors was locked is open now.
It's Alan Wake.
And there's like rats and stuff going on there. I bet it is kind of Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Because she supposedly ties the other stories together. So it's almost like she wrote the other stories.
Alan Wake,
maybe?
dude.
All work and no play, bro.
So they showed just a little bit of her part. But like some little freaky things happen, but not too much. Like, there's kind of just more exposition.
Yeah. That's what I like about Layers of Fear. It doesn't, doesn't like throw it all in your face. It is really meditative. It is really slow burn psychological horror, all in your head, and the type of horror that parallels real life experiences too. That's like some of my favorite shit. Just like people's addiction and going through traumas and. Yeah,
I love that about Layers of Spheres.
Dollar sign.
Yeah, dollar sign.
But then I got into the painters level.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit more involved, and it gets into some of the new mechanics and stuff. And it's interesting there because, again, we were talking about the lighting in Dead Space and the different colors and stuff. And so, like, I think coming from that, I was, like, really paying attention. It's like, okay, this direction the light is blue. This direction the light is like red, and then like over here, like they've got 2 candles just on the ground. Like, what the heck is going on? And I think I went to like the blue one first.
Blue, yeah. And warm, comforting.
And blue is a cool color.
Yeah.
There was like
red is warm.
Red is warm.
This big bolt of thunder went off, and then like knocked everything in that room to the ground like it was an earthquake, and it's like just basically shut off that path. And then I ended up going into some other ways.
Was Justine Amnesia or Layers of Fear?
Amnesia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But there's like some like flickering like red lamps and stuff there. But yeah, there was there's this wheelchair that kept popping up.
Session 9, dude.
So like you pass the wheelchair and then you turn the corner and there'd be another wheelchair.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Of course, Bloodworth.
And then,
yes.
And then I got to the end of this hallway and the locked door, and then does the thing where like you turn around and like, okay, now the hallways are changing, and like, you're getting into all of these different places, and things are getting weirder and weirder.
Heck yeah.
And then
And you never played the original, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't know anything about it?
Yeah. I don't know the story.
Go.
I played the painter one, I think, or the second one.
Yeah, the painting's the first one. Second one's the ship.
I played the first one.
Yeah.
But then, so you get this lantern. This is the new thing. So you need the lantern to light areas in front of you, but there's a meter. You'll see it in the footage, and when the meter fills all the way up, then your lantern will just like go up for a second, and you have to wait for it to cool down.
Cool. Okay. So because I love the match light mechanic in Amnesia so much. I love that stuff. So that's cool that you can't fully use it all, or you gotta maybe pick your spots with it.
And then
what's the lore on it? Does it just overheat, or is it electric, or what is it?
I mean, it seems like it's like a candle, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
The atmosphere just from this trailer, what I can see is really
it's super
moody.
dark for sure.
Moody.
Yeah, I can see a couple of pinpricks of light.
But that's part of the lantern mechanics. It's like you need to light that thing up to see.
What a vibe.
But then if you hold both triggers, it does like a more like focused beam, and that can like destroy objects. And then you have like this old woman that starts following you and muttering things. And
cool.
PT, dude.
Yeah, straight up.
And what's crazy with that is, so you use the focus beam to kind of like dispel her and make her go away.
Nice.
But even when you've done that and you can't see her anymore, you still hear her.
PT.
So you still know where she is, how close she is behind you.
Pursue
God.
her.
Yeah. And you get like a lot of these like letters of like the servants resigning and all this stuff, and you have this scene that this you're like trapped in this room with this fire, and then eventually like once you can get out of the room,
the fire looks excellent.
Yeah, you walk through the house that's all charred and stuff. But yeah, like you're saying, it's just like this. Yeah, it's that kind of slow.
Yeah.
Like
slow burn. Huh?
Creep into you, and I like. Yeah, part of the story, like the disturbing parts of the story or whatever are part of what makes it freaky.
Definitely.
Trying to see if there's anything else in there. They're just talking about the tech behind the lighting when I was talking to them. This comes out in June.
Shit.
Coming up.
June's getting stacked.
Summer hit right here. But we're gonna like this. I feel like a lot of people maybe passed over Layers of Fear. You know, it's on a
hidden gem.
Yeah, it is. It's not a huge game.
Too,
it's
like
bigger.
even though it's like their standout, their breakout hit or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they were so new and it was so new. Like there are a lot of people that I think just didn't know about it at the time.
And then 2 has a 2 on it, so I didn't play the first, so I'm not gonna play that one. So this is good. This will really help the franchise. I feel like.
I want to do a quick little alt control GDC thing real quick.
Fun.
Unfortunately I never quite get enough time to actually like play these crazy things because there's usually lines. But I'll put up some photos here. This one you play with a toaster.
Yeah.
So it's like you just
wait. We should explain what alt control is. Alt control is the thing where you have alternate controllers for games.
People just like workshop together like really crazy weird controllers every year.
Someone is gonna beat Elden Ring with a toaster,
and there's a lot of just wires poking out and things made out of plywood and all of this kind of thing.
I saw one from this that looks very fun.
Yeah. This one, the second one that I'm showing is like a puppeteer thing. And so you've got one where you've got like the cross bars of like a marionette. And then this other one where you stick these things on your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And
like
you're pulling wires.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. This one is like Mysterious Monsters. So you've got like an axe. And you're like chopping a stump.
Get off our steez.
Yeah.
And you play by
or say you were inspired by it.
Or send us your buttons because ours are. I made them and they're not super great.
There's one here that you play with a bicycle wheel. This one I'm not even sure what was going on. They had like made their own like custom like kind of
flight simulator
Cosmic
part.
Gunner?
Looks like part of a flight simulator there, maybe.
Yeah, flight handle thing. This one is a little hard to tell just from the photo, but basically it's a wooden grocery cart.
Oh, I thought it was like a guillotine.
One person is sitting in the grocery cart and they can like pull on these strings to churn something, and then the other person is behind them like with the thing that goes back and forth to push. And then some of these I don't even understand because I wasn't able to like hang out long enough to watch them.
A turtle and a horse here?
There was this turtle shell with like a mouse on a tail, and then there was like a bunch of stuff that you stick onto some kind of sensors.
The bric-a-brac?
Yeah. This one looks like it uses some kind of modular synth stuff.
Oh yeah.
Moving wires in and out of different spots.
I mean those
a lot.
are 1/8 inch, but yeah.
This one, you're controlling a paper airplane with like hang glider control. So they had these handles hooked up to ropes, and you pulled the ropes left and right to steer. This one I did not understand. There's another thing with a bunch of crazy like stuff on it. There's like a book and these little potion bottles and like a scarf, and I don't know how it works.
Maybe like a hidden escape room kind of thing?
Maybe. This is called Unicycle Samurai. And they're sitting on these things that tilted all over the place, and then it also had pedals, and it was a multiplayer combat game.
What?
So you're like
on. GDC is cool, man.
So fun.
Yeah.
GDC is cool.
So you're like piloting unicycles and like trying to attack the other person. And then this was kind of the big crowd pleaser.
This is the one I saw, yeah.
Yeah, this gigantic hat.
Haberdasher, I think this what this is called.
Yeah, and 2 people are under the hat on either side, and by like tilting the hat one way or the other, you control where the guy walks through this town.
So tilting it right makes him go right, and backwards is backwards.
And it's co-op?
Yeah, it has to be.
It has to be.
2 people to hold the hat up.
Takes 2 people because the hat is
the hat's so big,
massive.
That looks so delightful. I want to play that with you right now.
Yeah, fully.
That sounds so fun.
I was like, I want to stream this.
Yeah.
And then the actual last thing I did at GDC, although we still have other things to shoot, is I went to I talked about lunch with Hanson, but then I went to the God of War panel on the narrative in Sindri's house.
Hell yeah, Blood.
And this was really cool.
Favorite spot of 2022 in a game.
Just a lot of talk about.
I think a friend of mine worked on it.
Dude,
the house.
The narrative troubleshooting and like how they wanted, because they had that directive of like, we want this to feel lived in, and like things are going on, even if you're not interacting, and just like all of these different things that had to be designed, and like even terminology that they didn't have the words for. So like they're talking about like there is like ambient dialogue is like when NPCs are just like talking amongst themselves, and then opt-in conversations, which is like when you go up to it.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, and like a lot of it was just like iterating and seeing how different things worked, because they had systems in place to where they would have one conversation if Kratos wasn't there, but if you walked into their zone, then they would start including Kratos in the conversation.
Yeah. Love those moments.
And yeah, I think some of them they kept in there.
Yeah.
But there's
because you can like hear them talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are like times when like basically every player just walks into this conversation because it's like the next thing to do, and so like they would cut like the other optional version because like we might as well just keep the one because all the players are doing this. And they talked about just figuring out like the timing of how these things interact, because like when you go down to eat dinner, there's all these other conversations that can be happening, but like as soon as the player presses that button, then you're interrupting those side conversations, right?
Right.
And so they're saying that, you know, the way that it would have worked before they tweaked it, the like Sindri or Brock or whoever would just like they would just have this awkward like it would just their dialogue would just cut off, and then there would be like a space, and then Kratos would start talking, and so they like created like a way for them to overlap, so that basically Kratos starts talking a little bit before their other dialogue cuts off, so that feels like
interrupts them. Like,
it's a real interruption.
Yeah.
And then similarly with some of this stuff they were talking about with the like Brock and Sindri could be over in the workshop arguing, but then you could be having this other conversation with like Mimir at the table, or you could walk into your bedroom and just like shut it all out. And so it was really interesting because they're talking about how do we make all of this stuff work and not just be like clashing with each other, right? And so they're saying so essentially what they did is, you know, they made it so if you were opting into a conversation, the other thing was still going, but they lowered the volume.
Smart.
And they focused the subtitles, so like you only have the subtitles for the thing that you care about.
Nice.
That's the conversation that you're.
It's like a damn Robert Altman movie.
And then when they had things going on, they were talking about like focusing the camera. So like the camera would like wherever Kratos was walking, it would still be like looking at them talking over there in that direction. They had to change the pathfinding system for NPCs, because generally, like when Atreus is with you, like he's always gonna be kind of like at your side or whatever. If you get up close to him, then he'll like just do like this little like dodge out of your way.
Jump.
But they're saying like in the house, if the player gets between Atreus and his room, like that seems really odd for him to just like suddenly like jump out of the way. So they had to create like another like paths to like he's just gonna stop essentially.
Yeah.
Stop where he's at and wait for you to get out of his way, kind of thing. But yeah, and they kind of talked about how that, you know, you kind of have resumable conversations like with Ratatoskr outside, so that it's like, you know, if maybe you don't want to listen to all of this right now, it's still available when you come back, and like remembering where you left off and all of that. They talked about having those like spaces on the shelves that get filled over time.
Love that. Yeah. Love those shelves, dude.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
having the like upgrade shop in there too is such a nice touch, because it's like you can, you know, chill out, listen to some lore, and also customize all your stuff.
They had a lot of little like maps with this like little like showing like, okay, he goes here and then he goes there and then that guy goes over there.
That's cool.
Just like quick little things over top. They say you go back to that, you like have to go back there, not counting the times that you optionally, like 13 times.
Wow.
So really talking about making sure that it evolves
Checking
and
in,
it doesn't feel like it's just you're at the center of everything, even though you are, you know, like feeling like it's not all revolving around you.
That's really great. Wow, I can't. They captured that feeling for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was really, really cool stuff. And again, one of those ones that I hope that they get.
Yeah, release this stuff.
Yeah, they get
release
out there.
the GDC cuts.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really dig into the dinner scene, but they really talked about like that. That was another thing, like with the Immortality stuff, that just like sometimes something is just a lot of work, and it just takes putting it all in there and putting it all together before it actually feels like what we want it to feel, and we want this to feel like a really significant slice of life.
Yeah,
that really connects people to those characters.
Amir's head on the table, one of my favorites.
And then basically flew back home. I've got a couple more crazy things to talk about, but before we wrap up this crazy long video, any questions from you two, or just?
I think you covered it, bud.
You had the answers.
Yep.
Awesome. So check out that El Paso Elsewhere preview and the Rah Rah Boom preview. We've got some more things to come in the next couple of weeks as well, for things that I can't talk about just yet. But if you like this, check us out, subscribe so you can be aware of when those pop up. And if you want to support us, we are supported by our fans. So go to patreon.com/easyallies to become a part of that and get some cool rewards and early access videos and extras and all of that good stuff. Thank you.